Hey, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, whichever time of day it is that you're listening to this. This is Average Discussion. Today is February 12th, 2024. It's about 30 degrees here in the Salt Lake City area. Nice and clear skies. A little cold, a little chilly, but it's nice and clear skies. I'm sure it'll get warmed up. It's not too bad in the sun. Thank you for joining me here in Studio Silverado on this day after Super Bowl, which is arguably should be a day off of work for the amount of food that you ingest. Listen, I'm just going to say it. I love the Super Bowl. I fully get on board with the bread and circuses, okay? So it doesn't bother me. Actually, that quote kind of pisses me off. But anyways, again, it's the day after Super Bowl, so if you didn't catch the game last night, here's a little tidbit. The Chiefs ended up winning against the 49ers. 25-22 in overtime. Not the most exciting game, but it was a pretty decent game. Yeah, I mean, I think the problem with the Super Bowl is that it gets so much attention, right? So much hype, and then they get these mega superstars like Usher to come perform the halftime shows and stuff, right? So it's this huge entertainment thing. So if the game is not equally entertaining, people are like, "Oh, this was the worst Super Bowl I've ever seen in my life." But in reality, it was a pretty good game. I'm not exactly thrilled about the outcome, but it was a double-edged sword for me. I didn't want the Chiefs to win another one, not because I don't like them or anything like that. I just I get tired of hearing about it more than anything. And I definitely didn't want the 49ers to win because I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. However, I think Christian McCaffrey had an outstanding season, and I was hopeful for him. So it is what it is. I wasn't really rooting for or against either team. If I had to pick, I'd say I was probably leaning more towards the 49ers just because literally, even if you're not watching a Chiefs game, you have to hear about Patrick Mahomes. And it's not a knock at him. It's not his fault. I get tired of hearing that shit all the time. And I was kind of hoping they would lose. But we'd still have to hear about him because they talk about how he made it there and all that good stuff. But either way, they ended up winning. So now they've repeated. Won two Super Bowls back to back. If I remember right, I saw a stat that said that was the longest drought in between back-to-back Super Bowl championships. About 19 years, I think is what it said. Obviously, there was a plethora of celebrity status surrounding this game. But apparently the opening sequences, songs, which I wasn't present for because I was still out barbecuing all the food for everybody. I got bad time management on my part there. Whatever. Nobody cares about that. But anyways, so I missed all this stuff. I did come inside to get some supplies real fast while America the Beautiful or whatever was being sung, which that's weird to me, but whatever. But apparently, and I missed the national anthem as well. Because again, I was outside still barbecuing all the food. But apparently and I'm not sure that I'm going to say this correctly because I'm getting conflicting information on what it's actually called. But the Black National Anthem, okay, and I think that's what it's called. And I say that because the media is calling it, I saw it in the news this morning when I was looking through it, and they called it the Negro National Anthem, which I thought that was a no-no, but who am I to say anything? But here we go. Yeah, so America the Beautiful was sung, and that's been a thing. Hold on a sec. Yeah, America the Beautiful was sung, and that's been a thing since about 2009, before the national anthem, right? And then in 2021, they added Lift Every Voice to be sung prior to America the Beautiful. So I apparently missed this, and I didn't know that was deemed, the Black National Anthem. Again, assuming that's what it's called. It was written by a NAACP chairman, not really sure what his title was, back in the early 1900s. So yeah, I think it's cool or whatever. But apparently there was a lot of negative publicity surrounding this because apparently people were upset that nobody was standing in, or that certain people, because I'm sure some people weren't standing and kind of giving it the respect of the national anthem. And, you know, Twitter was full, or X, excuse me, was full of all these negative, ignorant comments, you know, about, well, it's because there's one national anthem, blah, 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 all this stuff. And, you know, to some degrees I agree with, right? Like, I mean, the practice and standard of standing and remaining silent is kind of, you know, dedicated for the national anthem. Now, if they were doing, and again, I don't know, because I missed this, right? If they were doing the same for America the Beautiful prior to the national anthem, then you shouldn't assume that the Lift Every Voice and Sing song should get the same respect. But again, I don't know. I missed that part. So if you guys were able to see that, please enlighten me. But I watched this thing from the gal who sang it last night, and she didn't mention anything of it in the article that I was able to watch a video of. But apparently it was a big deal. And there's a lot of people pissed off. And all I'll say is that the whole reason the national anthem thing with Kaepernick always pissed me off was because I don't feel like what he did was really all that disrespectful. You know, to me, disrespect would have been like the national anthem's being sung and he's over on the bench, you know, eating a banana or something, or drinking some Gatorade, trying to get his electrolytes and his potassium going, you know, just no fucks given. Like, that to me is disrespect, right? You know, he took the knee, but he remained silent. He wasn't, you know, he wore the socks the one time. I think that really pissed a lot of people off, which that I would kind of agree, but he was trying to use his platform, and I guess I kind of understand that. But initially, with just the knee thing, right, I didn't feel like it was all that disrespectful, and that it was kind of blown out of proportion. And not I don't think it was. That's a hard one, right? Because the easy answer to say is people blew it out of proportion because of race. And I don't know that I can buy into that narrative. I think that race just happened to be a factor, but it wasn't the factor, if that makes any sense. And what I mean by that is, I really think like that sparked a nerve with people whose ideals are very traditional in the sense of patriotism, right? And the fact that he happened to be a black man just contributed another layer to it. But I don't think that was most people's primary issue with it. But again, you know, it's hard to say. It really is hard to say because we do live in a crazy fucking world. But in regards to this song, you know, to deem a separate national anthem and expect there not to be controversy and pushback, I think is a bit unrealistic. Now, I'm not saying that you aren't entitled to cultural, you know, practices and beliefs. Like, I don't want to give the impression that I don't think that there shouldn't be anything. But what I do disagree with is that it shouldn't trump anything, and that, you know, they're not asking it to, just so we're clear. But it shouldn't trump anything. I gotta unlock my phone. I'm sorry, because I took screenshots of everything. It's just easier than taking notes. But it shouldn't trump anything that's the, you know, like the national anthem. And to the best of my knowledge, they're not asking it to. So please don't think that I'm implying that they are. I'm just kind of elaborating on my thought process here. But apparently that upset quite a bit of people, that they weren't standing and giving it respect similar to the national anthem. And all I'd say to that is, just because you call it a national anthem doesn't mean that it's a national anthem. But I get it, you know, and I hope, again, like I said, I didn't see it, so I hope that nobody was being blatantly disrespectful for no reason, because there would be no reason that they should be. You know, if we're gonna sing America the Beautiful before it, like, I think that this is perfectly fine. So, not an issue in my mind. However, I would just argue with everybody this, right? Understand what you're referring to. I think it's a situation of you're just trying to point this stuff out because it's the tit for tat mentality that we have in this country. Because I can guarantee you, because I've been to enough sporting events at a small level, that there's always people, national anthem, whatever, there's always people still moving around. There's still people going in and out of the bathrooms. There's still people ordering their damn food, trying to get their beer. There's probably drunk guys still doing stupid shit in the stands, right? I think for the most part, most people are calm and collective, right, and showing respect. But there's always those people, because even at the smaller levels, right, you have this, you just have people that catch it at the wrong time or whatever, but they just feel like if they're not in the gym, we'll use basketball for instance, because that's what I'm spending most of my time at right now, right? If they're not in the gym, that they don't have to conform to it, right? And then here's the thing that always struck me the wrong way with all these, NFL in particular, anthem issues. The amount of camera people running around trying to get a shot of the players during this is more disrespectful than what the players do. But it's okay because we're documenting it. It's literally a double standard. I don't know. We like to feed our own misery. We do that as human beings, but especially as Americans. I think we like to feed our own misery. That's why we have anniversaries of deaths. It just feeds into the misery. I know that's a whole separate subject, but that's usually what I refer to when I say that. Like, we love to feed into our own misery. But anyways, this is average discussion. Okay. And so that was a very average discussion, very minimal facts. I just heard about this morning. I honestly didn't know that's what it was in reference to. So, apologies on my behalf for being ignorant to that, I suppose. But I apologize for the planes too. Apparently everybody's coming back from the Super Bowl. I don't know. But $7,000 was what they said was the cheapest ticket. And that was last week when I did my show. Last week I was pretty sick. So I wouldn't say I was pretty sick, but I felt pretty crappy most of last week. So I got about 4 of these up. Maybe 5. I can't remember. But yeah, $7,000 is what I found during that. Was the cheapest ticket to get in. That's insane to me. But with that amount of celebrities, they're gonna drive that up. So I don't know. But here at Average Discussion, I like to just talk about whatever comes to my mind. And usually I find that easier to do with the headlines. But I don't like to cover that. The stuff you're gonna hear about all day. So obviously you already know Trump's got legal issues, but he's winning this, he's winning that. They don't want him to do this. Biden, there's this whole push to prove that he's not mentally capable, which I think some of the video stuff that I've seen, it would concern me. Let's see. I don't think I got anything overly political on here today. But there was one that I did want to talk about. I try to avoid politics. I really do. The problem is they're everywhere. And some of the stuff I do feel is important to talk about, but so here it is. Here's the one. So apparently Biden's being attacked for his new campaign where he's using TikTok. And this comes because, I don't know if you recall, I know I did an episode on it a while ago, but they banned TikTok on all federal devices because they were concerned about Chinese, spying and interference, basically, right? And stealing data and information and all that stuff. So they banned it on all federal devices. There was this big push to kind of change the way you could utilize it here in America. And, that all stemmed from, they just felt like it was a spy app, basically, for the Chinese government. And then here comes the same president that instituted that policy, now bragging about using TikTok for his campaign stuff. So he's kind of being, here's a good way to break it down. So the Biden campaign bragging about using a Chinese spy app, even though Biden signed a law banning it on all federal devices. So, that was interesting. Now, me personally, I've never been concerned about TikTok because, I I'm not plotting the revolution on my TikTok page, so like I don't really know. I don't even make any content anymore. I tried it out. It wasn't for me. I don't think I can have a conversation with anybody, I feel like, but I'm not interested in the social media fucking advertising thing that you kind of have to do if you want to be successful on those apps. It's just not my thing. It's just, I'm not that funny of a guy, I guess, and I'm definitely not that good looking. So it's like an uphill battle, and I don't want to climb. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But I do agree that somebody as influential as the president's. I mean, I don't, outside of just keeping the public informed about kind of what's going on, I don't know that I like social media for my representatives anyways. Because it just opens the door, man. Like, I'm not saying that everything that I bring up is accurate, right? And a lot of my responses to things are probably highly emotional. And I don't think that pretending like you're accessible helps anything, right? Because I could get on X right now and I could tag, POTUS on there, and I could say something. It's never going to get a response. And if it does get a response, it's going to come in the form of suits at my door. You know what I'm saying? And I don't feel like it's a good thing. So, I mean, I can understand like his media representative having one, right? I can understand like a representative from Congress or the Senate having one, right? To keep the people informed. I think for those purposes, it's very good. I do feel like that. But you're literally telling me that you're just trying to get young voters. I mean, and that's propaganda at its finest. It's campaigning, right? And so I don't agree with it, just because I feel like when we do that kind of stuff, the position itself loses a bit of its credibility. It's a respectable position, right? And I remember in the Army, I was always told, you don't respect the person, you respect the position sometimes, right? And that's kind of how it is, right? Like, with all the things that I disagree with on Biden, if I saw him, I would be inclined to at least be respectable of his position. And I feel like when we do these things on these social media apps and like, I swear to God, if I see a president doing like a TikTok trend, I'm out. Like, I'm out, because you are, as that individual, you are bringing down the respect that position requires, right? I'm not saying he's doing that, guys. All I'm saying is, if I ever saw that, is like, if we're begging for votes that bad, like, maybe you're not the guy. Is all I'm saying. And I could say the same thing about Trump. Now, I don't think Trump has a TikTok. Maybe he does. I haven't really cared to look into that. Probably not, though, would be my guess. But I know social media was a big platform for him, and I felt the same way then. Like, there's certain things that people in those positions just don't need to acknowledge. There's certain things that people in those positions just don't need to comment on to the everyday people, because, and here's the reason why I say that, the everyday people are highly emotional in their responses, myself included. I'm not excluding myself from this, right? You can't come to us with that, because we don't have all the facts that you have. The very government that is concerned about misinformation is the leading cause behind the misinformation. You know what I'm saying? Like, because they don't share everything with us. And I don't know that I think that they should either, because I also don't feel that everybody has the mental capacity to be able to rationalize things in a non-utopian vibe, right? Like, the world's not all cupcakes and rainbows. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think a lot of people have the stomach to be able to understand that, like, as much as we would love to help everybody, sometimes you got to punch them in the throat. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know that it would be a good idea for everybody to have all this information. All I'm trying to point out is that that's the kind of shit that happens, right? And so not everything needs to be discussed. I don't feel like, if somebody asks you, then, I would encourage you to try your best to at least answer the questions, but that doesn't mean that you got to do like a broadcast about it. I don't know. That's just my cup of tea on that, and I'll move on to something else because again, politics gets me fired up. But in a way, everything's kind of politics, right? Everything gets political. We started out with the brainwashing of all the ceremonies before the game. That's really all it is propaganda, guys. I mean, and I'm not saying it's necessarily bad, right? I think it's a good thing to have pride in your nation. It's a good thing to have pride in your people. But all that shows me is that we have America the Beautiful and I forget what the damn song's called already. Hold on, let me get back to it. America the Beautiful and Lift Every Voice and Sing, right? And to me, that just implies separation, and so I think the unity that those ceremonies are supposed to kind of have, I think is gone as a result of that, because how could it not be, right? I mean, we're literally just displaying both sides of it, thinking that it's progressive, but it's not, and I don't know. It's a money-making industry. Everything's about exploiting our emotions. And what I'm about to talk about now is no exception to that. So, the Stanley Cup phase, right? I didn't know this was a thing. My daughter wanted one, and I thought she was like talking about the fucking hockey trophy. And I was like, what does she want? Like a replica of it? I'm super confused. Like, we're not a hockey family. I don't understand this. Because I didn't know that they were making a comeback when she asked about this, right? Because I know what Stanley thermoses are and things like that, right? But I didn't know that they were making like a popular comeback. But apparently, though, it's probably being raised by their competitors. But this is the article. It says, the thirst for Stanley Cups raises questions on how green stainless steel water bottles really are. Okay, so I'm not going to get too much into this because I think the title kind of outlays enough of what it is. But they're advertised as being forever, like you don't ever have to buy another one, this and that. So they shouldn't end up in your landfills as much, right? But here, I took a screenshot of the part, but I can't seem to find it now. At least I thought I did. But anyways, it basically took them from like $7 million annually to like $750 million. Oh gosh, dang it. Just when you think like you're being innovative with your note taking, to make the process better for everybody, so you're not just bouncing around and hearing papers fall out everywhere, you just realize you're not. It's not working. Because I probably thought I screenshotted it and I didn't, so I have the rest of the article, but not that part. But anyways, so it's dramatically increased their sales. Dramatically. And it's super trendy. So, back to the name of the title, right? It says that the thirst for Stanley Cup raises questions about how green stainless steel water bottles really are. Listen, I think that stainless steel cups are better than what we've been doing, where we just package out billions upon billions of individual bottles of something, right? Because I think the idea is when you say like, oh, we'll get a stainless one, that you buy one and that's the only one you ever use, right? The problem is that everything good or exploitable gets exploited for profit and gain, right? It's literally, oh, we have this color to match your personality. If you're a green personality person, we have this color. And if you want to add some accessories to it to make it even more individualized, then you can do that. But if you're having a blue day instead of a pink day or a green day, we have those for you too. So you can mix and match your color cup to your personality of the day and how it fits to you in the moment. So next thing you know, you got fucking 50 of them. And I'm not innocent. I have a lot of coffee cups. Now, to be fair, I haven't bought them all for myself. Sometimes it was, I've reached the stage in life where that's the go-to gift for me for anything, right? But I have more than one. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing. it's presented to us as something that we should be buying because you're not in the in crowd, right? The whole keeping up with the Joneses mentality. Excuse me, guys. I'm still getting over this stuff from last week. It is better by far. I feel tremendously better. I hope I sound better, but I probably don't look any better. But that's not related to the sickness, anyways. But it's all presented to us like this, keeping up with the Joneses things. It's been a thing. It literally is the driving force for our economy, and we can say whatever we want to say, but it keeps a lot of us employed, so it's like a double-edged sword, I guess. But you're gonna get cut either way. But yeah, I mean, I think the initial idea was, yeah, these are better for you. You get one, and instead of having a case of 32 waters in the backseat of your truck, you just keep refilling the same water bottle. That works out. And then it's like, well, it doesn't really work out because half the places don't accommodate fucking clean, fresh water. I mean, they'll give you tap water, but most places don't have purified water. You know what I mean? Or cleaned water, or filtered water, I should say. Filtered, that's the word I was looking for. Filtered, right? And I don't know, we're not set up to really have people's interests in mind. We never have been, and we probably never will be unless something drastically changes. But of course, it's not going to be any better for the environment when it's a popular item, because people are just going to buy them in bulk. They're going to buy them. They're going to over purchase them. And then eventually they're going to reach a point where they're like, oh, I have too many cups, and they're going to start throwing them out. I mean, it's just the way that it is. So, yep, that's the Stanley Cup craze, and we're not talking hockey, contrary to what I thought. Let's see. Oh, this article was interesting. So this was on USA Today. It says, is housing healthcare? ? State Medicaid programs increasingly say yes. So if you didn't like it, tough shit. But homelessness jumped 12% in the U.S. last year to an estimated 653,104 Americans, the highest level on record. At least 19 states are directing money from Medicaid. So isn't that interesting? I'm not saying I'm against it, because I think it is a problem, but I also feel, and this is probably ignorant of me to say, but it's just based off the small experience that I have with it. I also feel that a lot of times it's a choice. It's a choice of, I hate this system too, but I'm willing to play ball with it because I don't want to live on the side of a freeway, right? And that's what I'm saying. Like, to some degree, I think it's a choice. Obviously, I know there's people with mental health issues. Obviously, I know there's people with drug addiction issues, but drug addiction definitely is a choice. Now, that doesn't mean that those people don't deserve help. I'm not saying that at all. It doesn't mean that, we shouldn't care about trying to help them out. I'm not saying that at all. But the fact that you have a drug addiction probably is a choice. Now, there's going to be the one-off situations where they never had it till they had a surgery and they got addicted to this or that, whatever. I understand that too, but I think of that when we focus on the big events like that, I think it gives a pass to all the events that aren't that, right? Because I'm not saying that those don't happen. What I'm saying is I don't think a majority of people who have a drug addiction got it because they had a surgery, is all I'm saying, right? So to some degree and to some extent, a drug addiction is a choice. It was a choice that we made as human beings, and we have an addiction to it. Again, I'm not saying that does not mean we should not be interested in helping these people. I am not saying that makes them bad people. What I'm saying is, to some degree, it's a choice, right? So I really struggle with the homelessness stuff because, trust me, it's very ideal to me to just buy a camper and just disappear. Like, I'm sick of this system. I really am. I'm absolutely disgusted by it. I don't care to fight for it anymore. I don't want to be a part of it. And I'm actually ashamed that I bought into the Kool-Aid on certain aspects of it. Okay. I don't like this system. I think it was just a repetitive cycle of just keep beating each other down. We revert back to the same things over and over again. I saw this quote the other day. It said, if there's one thing mankind can learn from history, is that mankind never learns from history. And I feel like that is just the most accurate statement to express American culture in particular, right? I don't have a better solution for the homelessness problem, though. So I don't want to be overly criticizing it. However, I don't know that I want my tax dollars to go to fixing the problem because, again, I think in a lot of cases, it's a choice. They're capable. They're capable. They could have a job, but instead they're just getting by scrapping things out of the dumpsters, right? And I know that for a fact because I see it all the time. But then they don't want to, or they have a background, and our system doesn't really allow you to make affordable living most of the time. So yeah, I don't know that I'm okay with my taxes going to fund it. But I mean, at the same time, to ask the state to do something about it, my taxes are going to fund it anyways. So I mean, it's a lose-lose, but I was unaware that states were using the Medicaid program to help with homelessness. So California is obviously going the biggest with this. They're pumping $12 billion into the Medicaid initiative, largely to help homeless patients find housing, pay for it, and avoid eviction. So you're in essence paying for these people's houses, in which, one way or the other, we have to pay for it. I understand that. But what I don't want is to pay into a system that doesn't encourage change. It's one thing to help people. Like, I'm perfectly fine with helping people. I really am. And I think that it's something that shows how great we can be, right? But I struggle with this when it becomes, a system where has longevity. Like, it shouldn't be something that's ideal, And I'm not saying that these situations probably are very ideal. And all I'm saying is I hope that there's some kind of like time frame on this, right? Expectations. Like, I'm perfectly fine with housing, like welfare housing, right? I think that we need to make it uncomfortable, though, not because we hate these people, but because we want them to be better, right? So the more uncomfortable you make something, the more likely they are to change their situation, right? Like, I'm a grown man. I don't want anybody coming in and doing cleanliness checks on my house. But if I have somebody else paying for it and that was happening, I'd have no choice, and I got to deal with it. So every day I got to present my house to somebody, and they get to decide if it's clean enough or not. And if it's not clean enough, then I have to clean it, because if not, I'm going to get kicked out of my house. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Those kinds of things. Requiring people to follow these standards to encourage them to get out, right? It's not that we don't want to help them. We don't want to encourage the same behavior over and over again. That's just my opinion on it. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't have a flawless system for that, but I think that it would be beneficial. I think if we could encourage people to understand that, listen, this is not how you want to live. You do not want to be inconvenienced by this. We're going to help you out, but it's going to come at a cost to you, and it's going to come at a cost of your own time, right? We're not asking you to pay money because you don't have any money. So what are we going to ask you to do? You're going to mow the lawns. You're going to paint the buildings. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. You're going to do all those things because this is being given to you, right? So I kind of just, with this Medicaid thing, I hope that there's something that's not going to encourage this to be a longevity thing. Because, again, I don't mind paying into a system that helps people. I think it's a good thing to show like what we're capable of in this country, right? But at the same time, like I said, I am not interested in it becoming a longevity thing. I'm not with that. Everybody falls on hard times. Some people have better plans going into those than others. Some people are brought up in better homes than others, where it's more sustainable, right? They're given better development skills. And if that's your argument for saying that you shouldn't do this, right? Like, well, you should be teaching your families and this and that, then I don't feel like it's relevant, because you're ignoring the fact that everybody has a different experience. And those things could be preached, right? Like, we should preach that. Like, take care of your families, do this, right? We also have to understand the reality that that doesn't always happen. So if we're not going to go back to barbaric times where we say if you're not contributing to anything, you're out, you're done, we kill you, then we have to accept the fact that we should probably try to help people. Again, though, I'm not saying it should be a long-term thing, and we should make it extremely uncomfortable to encourage them to be better themselves. I full-heartedly believe that. That's just where I stand on it. So let's see what else here. They basically call it an experiment, which is what it really is. Pretty interesting article. I found it on, I think it was Yahoo News, but it's from USA Today. If you want to read through it, basically just saying how they're using the healthcare systems to help the homeless problem because they don't know what else to do. It's quite a lengthy article, but I don't want to get too far into that. We've already been going for 35 minutes. Holy smokes. I am just chatting away today. How crazy is that? All right, well, here, check this one out from the Los Angeles Times. This is an opinion article, okay? But it says cement is a big part of the carbon problem here. Oh, cement is a big part of the carbon problem. Here's how to make it a part of the solution. Now, this was from today at 4 a.m. In 2014, hundreds of Angelinos gathered downtown to watch more than 2,000 trucks pour concrete into a vast hole. During that event, Los Angeles set a world record. 80 million pounds of concrete were laid down over 18 straight hours to form the foundation of the Wilshire Grand Center, which now towers 73 stories above the city. This material has been used for thousands of years. This material that has been used for thousands of years that formed the Colosseum and the Pantheon has become indispensable. It is the most consumed human-made material on Earth. It is also one of society's biggest sources of greenhouse emissions. Yes. Everything. Emissions. Everything. Oh man. The globally manufacturing of cement, which binds together sand and rock to form concrete, emits 8% of the carbon dioxide pollution in the atmosphere, contributing to climate change that's causing wildfires, hurricanes, and record heat waves. Cement and concrete manufacturing emits as much carbon dioxide as India. Okay. So, I'm so fucking sick. Every time I look at this, there's just something else that is just killing the planet, and it's all our fault. And listen, I'm not saying we don't contribute to it, okay? But I don't know if anybody listened to. I don't even know if I did an episode on it. I might have just been looking up. I think I was just looking it up. Hold on a second. This is why this is starting to piss me off. Let me see if I can find the screenshot of it real fast, because I definitely took it. But did you know that apparently humans pump so much groundwater that the Earth's axis has shifted? This study finds. So on top of concrete pumping out carbon dioxide that's going to kill everybody, apparently we're also fucked up because we're draining groundwater and it's causing the Earth to shift. Now, the whole article highlighted like the western part of the country, right? So I go to Google Earth, zoom out, look at that big blue marble sitting there in the vast vacuum of space, and then zoom in on the western part of the American continent, North American continent. And you mean to tell me, like, we're pumping so much water out of there on that big ass marble that's the reason the Earth's shifting, or the axis is tilting, or it's affecting the axis tilt, I should say? Like, listen, I think yoga is very good for people, but we're fucking stretching here, people. We're fucking stretching here. What do you want us to do, man? Because even without cars, we still got to pump water. We've been doing that shit for centuries. In fact, I think in your holy book, it talks about how they would go somewhere and they would do two things. They would dig a well and they'd build an altar. Like, it's just the way it's been, man. Like, what are we supposed to do? You know, it's not my fault God played this cruel joke on us and put us on this planet with all this water that we can't fucking live with. Like, that's not, what do you want us to do, man? You know? And the funny thing is the person who wrote that article was probably sitting in an apartment that gets its water from the ground. I don't know. Crazy. But anyways, back to today's article that I pretty much just tossed to the wayside. Cement. Yeah, so cement is not safe. Listen, I don't know that it's necessarily good, right? And from what I understand, reading through the article, they're not necessarily saying like do away with cement. They recognize that it's a very vital part of our society, right? I guess they're more concerned about the industry behind it and how to make it more efficiently without producing those chemicals and all this and that. But either way, like, yes, guys, everything that we have man-made is going to contribute negative effects into the atmosphere at some way, shape, or form. Like, I bet you could do a solid study and be like, the gas expelled from human beings because of processed food is drastically different and is causing global warming. More people are farting than ever before in human history, and we are literally killing the atmosphere. And it's all a result of your coffee cups. Because if we didn't have the coffee cups that were made out of the plants that were made by cement, using the water from the ground, the world would be perfect. It'd be a utopia. Because the world has never gone through dramatic climate changes on its own. No. That's never happened. Never happened. It's always us pesky humans. Now listen, I'm not saying that we don't contribute to some of our own problems. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is stop pretending like me drilling for water to survive is killing the planet. Please just stop. Please just stop. It's fucking terrible. Now, that article, to be fair, that article did source some very, very important information that I don't think gets taken into consideration, right? So we're pumping the groundwater, and that inevitably affects, lakes and rivers, for how much that they have, assuming that they're not like, reservoirs and stuff, right? So like that part of it was interesting. And so I can see the concept there. It was literally the saying that we've pumped out so much water that the fucking Earth's tilt is changing. And I'm sorry, like, if there's one thing I feel pretty confident with a lot of math stuff, is that you can make it fit your situation mathematically. If you have, okay, so this is what my theory is. How do I mathematically prove it? And you can say, okay, we pump out X amount of gallons and this and that. It weighs this, X, Y, and Z. And so you remove that amount, you shift that amount of weight around, then obviously it's going to have, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that it's not possible to have some kind of an effect. I would just like to know how much of an effect we're really pretending that this has. Because again, human beings for centuries have been expelling water from the ground. From the ground. Now, I'll make the argument with you that yes, it's probably on a much higher level now in a lot of areas. I'll give you that. But how arrogant is it of us as a species to assume that we literally have that much power and control? So, maybe here's a fucking, since we're just anything and everything, right? What if, I gotta open my phone again, guys, sorry. What if this is all results of nuclear testing back in the day? Huh? Maybe it's not us at all. Maybe we fucked up. I bet you that's why the ozone needed to be fixed in the 80s, is because all the nuclear bombs they were testing in the 60s and shit. No, the 60s, the 40s. Sorry. Right? I bet you it was from that. Probably burned a fucking hole in the atmosphere, and they're like, no, it's you guys and your hairspray. It's your fucking hairspray, guys. Stop that shit. You're killing the planet. I'm pretty sure it's those big fucking bombs you set off. That'd be my thought, at least. All right, so last thing I'm going to talk about here, since we're already on topic of human-made shit that's fucking changing the environment. Chernobyl's mutant wolves developing resistance to cancer. Apparently, the wolves in Chernobyl radiation zone appear to have developed a resistance to cancer after being exposed to high levels of radiation in the wake of nuclear disaster 35 years ago, according to a new study. Karolov, an evolutionary biologist and exotoxicologist at Princeton University, found the wolves in the Chernobyl exclusion zone, CEZ for short, have altered immune systems, similar to cancer patients undergoing radiation treatment. According to the Society for Integrative and Comparative Biology, in 2014, Love and her colleagues put collars equipped with radiation dosimeters, I feel really cultured when I say that, on wolves in the area and took blood samples to understand the animal's response to being exposed to upwards of 11.28 millirem of radiation per day, 6 times the legal safety limit of radiation for humans. The research could help to identify protective mutations that can increase the odds of surviving cancer. Chernobyl is known for its brutal environment following the 1986 explosion and the fire at the Ukraine power plant that sent radioactive fallout spewing into the atmosphere. 30 workers were killed in the immediate aftermath, while the long-term death toll from radiation poisoning is estimated to number in the thousands. Nearly 4 decades after the accident, the range of wildlife populates the region, including bears, wolves, dogs, and lynxes. Before Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, scientists and researchers had begun to study the adaptations that wildlife had undergone through living in the highly radioactive area. That's why Putin went into Ukraine, because we were going to solve cancer, and there's no cure, there's no money in a cure, it's all in the treatment. Scientists have said that the research could have wide applications, providing insights about how animals and humans can live now in the future in regions of the world under continuous environmental assault and in the high radiation environment of space. There it is. Because we got to get out of here. You know, we gotta get out of here, guys. We can't better this place. This place is a fucking shithole. Move on to the next. I saw a meme not too long ago. And it said, I was really excited for aliens till I saw what all the billionaires are doing on this country. So the aliens are probably just the billionaire assholes from another country. I was like, yeah, that pretty much fits. Speaking of memes, I really did this old man move yesterday at our Super Bowl party, where I don't know how old he is, probably about 15. This kid was trying. I pretended like I had no idea what a meme was, and I was like, "Oh, a mame? Yeah, I've heard those." And he was getting super frustrated because he thought he was gonna have to explain it to me, and so I just kept playing into it. It was great. So now I'm convinced that all the things that I think old people don't understand, they do. They're just fucking with me. That's sort of thing. But back to the wolves. Interesting. I mean, here we have a man-made issue that became a man-made disaster. Which probably contributes more to the, overall quality of the atmosphere more than my fucking cement does. But here we have this issue that's now all of a sudden like, oh my gosh, there's something that can be learned from this. It seems like all of the advances, maybe not all of them, but a good chunk of our advances that are extraordinary and life-altering and changing happen on the coattails of extremely terrible situations such as Chernobyl or world wars, right? We seem to come up with great advancements during these times of extreme hardship. That's very interesting to me. Um, but I mean, I think the promising thing is because clearly we can't get rid of the concrete. So we can't get rid of the concrete. We've done a great job of developing our cities and our states and our countries to be dependent on mobile transportation of automobiles. And in some places, maybe it's better than others, but in places like where I live, everybody pretty much commutes. So you need a damn automobile. Oh, and then everybody has to work because everything's so fucking expensive that you need at least two, because companies don't want to hire people that are usually spouses, for a good reason, might I add. I think I've seen more situations where that's a bad idea than it is, a good idea. But so you don't work at the same place. It's hard to find jobs that are the same schedule anymore. And then your kids got to work as well, right? So you got 2-3 cars, and then they'll put up signs that say, "Hey, the air quality's bad. Consider carpooling or drive less." That's my favorite one. Air quality's bad this week. Drive less. You want to call my job and tell them that? Like, I'll take a few days off. I mean, if we can shut things down for a little while because of sickness, then I mean, why don't we just shut all the businesses down for 2 days? Stop the pollution. No, can't do that. Drive less though. Like, where the fuck you think I'm going? I go to work, I go home, and I do a few things to keep my kids occupied so they don't waste their lives any more than they already do on video games, and hopefully they don't find the crowd of people that gets them into drugs and stupid shit like that. That's my hope. That's what I do with my life. That's literally all I'm doing. What do you think I'm out here doing? You think I'm out here just fucking sightseeing your concrete buildings? Like, come on. Drive less this week. Kiss my ass, man. Like, what do you want us to do? You created this system. No, maybe that's not fair, because a lot of the people that are in there right now had nothing to do with it. They're byproducts of it, just like I am. But you're the ones who are generally in control that can make a bigger change than I can. Right? Like, because my solution is just blow the roads up, which I know how to do, by the way. I also know that it's a felony if I start doing that stuff. So, it is what it is. But I used to get paid to do that. That's the cool thing. But anyways, like you're the ones who can implement change. And you got the nerve to tell me drive less. Pay more. Then I will drive less. I probably wouldn't, because I just travel more. I guess it's a double-edged sword. I might have to get me one of those. Double-edged swords, just keep it in the back window of my Studio Silverado here. Yeah. What a weird weekend, huh? What a weird weekend. Crazy. And here, I was super excited because I've been keeping these at like 30, 35 minutes. And here I am looking at it in 52 minutes in. And I really don't feel like I've been talking all that much. I've probably been talking a lot, though. It's probably because I feel better. I've got my coffee in me, right? It's a good day. It was a weird weekend, though. Weird weekend. Anyways, I'll get off my soapbox here. I hope everybody had a good weekend. If you watched the game, I hope it was a pleasant experience for you. I hope you had fun. I hope you were safe. Hope you didn't get too drunk or too fat from all the food. I definitely ate too much food. I don't drink anymore, so I didn't have to worry about that. But I did eat way too much food. That did happen. That did happen. And my kids think that they can crack jokes about me being fat now, like I won't punch them in the kidneys, because I definitely will punch them in the kidneys. No, they're good. I like them. I love my kids. I do. I'm trying not to raise sissies. No offense to anybody, but I feel a certain kind of way about that, and I don't want them to be soft. You got to learn how to deal with the shit in this world, man. Like, you can't protect everybody from everything. You can't legislate your way out of everything. I think that's the biggest thing that I've come to learn in a lot of this. Like, there's a lot of things we can't react legislatively to everybody's fucking emotion. There's limits. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody should be bullied to the point of suicidal thoughts. I do agree with that. But somebody cracking a joke, I don't think is the same level. That's just me personally. There's probably a lot of rebuttal arguments against that, and you're going to throw me those big case scenarios that represent a small portion of the problem. That, yes, those are in my opinion, the exceptions, not the rules. But yeah, I don't know. I'll get off my soapbox here, guys. Hey, please head over to youtube.com. The channel is Average Discussion. Give me a like and a subscribe and a follow over there. You can find the podcast on Spreaker.com. Show's called Average Discussion. Spotify, iHeartRadio, same name, all that stuff. You can find me on Facebook.com/Average Discussion. Instagram, Average Discussion. X, formerly known as Twatter, at AVG Discussion. And if you'd like to, you can email me directly at averagediscussion@gmail.com. Go straight to my phone. It's pretty much a text message these days, assuming I got the notifications on. But if you'd like to reach me directly, comments, bitches, gripes, complaints, death threats, whatever it is you want to do, that's where you want to send them. averagediscussion@gmail.com. And let's see. Yeah, I think that's it. So, hey, as always, everybody, I hope you have a great day. Please take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Until next time, I'm out.